Welcome to the Varsity Club podcast. Derek Peterson here. Erin Sorensen is with me today. It is a Nebraska bye week, but we're still going to talk Huskers on the podcast today. No football game this weekend. We'll get into Ohio State a little bit later. Soccer had a match on Wednesday that we will talk about probably since there's no football. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about basketball. They had Husker Hoops preview. What was that, Wednesday night? So we'll talk about too because, again, there's football.
No football.
Erin, how are you?
I'm great. You know there is a football game though, right?
What?
They play this team called Bethune-Cookman. It was originally supposed to be a bye week, but then Akron got canceled. And so good old Scott Frost was introduced to BCU thanks to Sean Beckton, and here we are. So you have to show up on Saturday.
This is kind of awkward because I already made plans to drive home to Oklahoma for Whataburger.
Well, that's too bad.
They're expecting me.
You made a reservation at Whataburger?
Mm-hmm.
What? How do you...
What a burger?
Whataburger. But why do you say what? You're sounding like Waterburger.
It's Whataburger.
What a burger.
It's Whataburger.
Waterburgers?
I don't know why that made me laugh, but it's Whataburger.
Waterburgers.
So hold up. Are they bringing their band?
They are not bringing their band.
Oh my God! Why are we even playing this game then?
Oh, stop. There's more good things to Bethune-Cookman than just their band. No, actually, the legitimate answer, because a lot of people have asked this so many times this week, it's funding reasons. That is the biggest reason that they're not bringing their band, is they did not have the funding to be able to, and before people were like, oh, I would have started a GoFundMe, it also probably doesn't make a ton of sense to fund that for their band. If, they could probably utilize money for a number of other things. I don't know what, but I don't know. I have no idea where I was going with that, but now I'm going to look at... But yeah, they did say it was because of funding.
That makes sense. So we do have a football game this weekend.
There is.
Man, that really wrecks my weekend plans. What should I be on the lookout for then?
Wow, I did not realize this. They have a 325-member band. I didn't realize that includes instruments, a flag corps, and dancers.
Well, that's probably why their band is so awesome.
Yeah, I think it just... I think the biggest reason that I read is just funding. Was just it didn't make sense, financially, to send them. And that makes a lot of sense. That's quite the road trip to send somebody on, especially when you're talking about all the equipment and everything else that has to come with you. And so you can't really blame them for it. But yeah, no, what was the question?
This is a tremendous podcast right off the bat.
It is.
What should we be looking for off the bat this weekend?
A big thing for me is not to overlook Bethune-Cookman, because I absolutely don't think that Nebraska should, but there are opportunities for Nebraska to utilize this game to sort of build some confidence both on offense but especially on defense ahead of Ohio State. Ohio State is on a bye week right now, so there's pluses and minuses coming into a matchup, having had the time to rest versus having had a game to sort of build momentum. But since Nebraska's on the other end of that, where they don't have the bye week now, and they do have to show up on Saturday, just an opportunity for Nebraska's defense to sort of build that confidence. The one thing that Ohio State is doing that Nebraska can take advantage of is they're not running the ball well. They are averaging, I believe, under 4 yards per carry. If I'm being exact, I think it's 3.7 yards per carry, something around there.
Let's look it up.
Let's Google it.
Going to the interwebs.
So if that's the case, they could really show against Bethune-Cookman, really put a dominance on that. Stopping the run against Bethune-Cookman would build some confidence going into Ohio State. And I'm just watching you to see if, you see... Have you Googled it already?
Ohio State is at 4.36 yards per carry on the ground.
Bumped up.
12 rushing touchdowns. What is Nebraska at? Trivia time. No, you don't get to look it up.
I don't know. What is it? It's definitely more than that.
What is
they
it?
Definitely are averaging more.
Just ballpark it.
Are they averaging 9 yards a carry?
No. They're not averaging 9 yards a carry. Wisconsin is averaging 6. That's your high mark.
Okay.
6.25.
Nebraska's 6.25 is Wisconsin.
Yes.
I don't know. What's Nebraska averaging?
Nebraska's 5.4.
Okay. I want to say 9 just because... Well, no. Am I thinking of...
Is Alabama averaging 9? I don't even think Alabama's averaging 9.
What was their average against Minnesota?
It was probably 9.
That's what I'm saying. That's probably where that number came from in my mind, is probably against Minnesota. Now I have to go look it up because it is probably the Minnesota post-game notes.
So you're not completely insane.
No, I just tend to, eliminate other context just to make it more what I want it to be.
Nebraska averaged 8.9 yards a rush.
Woo! See, I knew it was somewhere from there.
Erin is correct.
But yeah, no, so... That's an opportunity where if they can, as a defense, get some confidence in stopping the run, assert themselves. Obviously, pass rush has been a super big concern for Nebraska as well on defense. So if they can build some confidence in those areas going into this matchup with Ohio State next week, that's going to be a huge benefit of this versus having a bye week. And they've done their best to try to give guys a break. They didn't have practice on Monday. They sort of built into it a little bit slower. They were very mindful of how they ran practice this week, not overlooking Bethune-Cookman, but also making sure, I think Troy Walter said it best, he's like, we've been going for 7 weeks, we have to be smart with our players. So it's not an overlooking a team, it's just being smart. But they can definitely use this to propel themselves into that Ohio State game.
This feels like a game where Nebraska should probably score 50 points again.
Well, there's no line for this game, but if you're somebody who likes to know what the line is, the closest to a lines per se is 41 points.
For Nebraska, or that's the over-under total?
No, that's Nebraska's favored by 41.
That feels a little... Well, that feels right.
Like I said, they do not do a line for an FCS opponent. That wasn't ever. So let me look.
I would set the over under in this one at 62.5, and I would take the over. Nebraska this should probably be something like a 51-17 game.
Yeah,
probably.
And somebody asked me. I was asked about. I was asked if I felt like Nebraska could shut Bethune-Cookman out, and I just don't think that's really a thing anymore. Anymore in college football, shutouts are very rare. So I do believe Bethune-Cookman will get some points on the board. I don't think it'll be significant. It's just how much more can Nebraska's offense pile on top of it. So
this is a Bethune-Cookman team that scored 3 points against Tennessee State.
Mm-hmm.
And then a week later scored 79 points against Virginia Lynchburg.
That's fine.
Anytime you're scoring 79 points in a football game, that's pretty... Excuse me. That's pretty impressive. But also, lost to Florida Atlantic 49-28. They put up 28 points in that game. They lost to Howard 41-35, 35 points against Savannah State, 28 against SC State, whoever that is, 41 against MS Valley, and then 10 points last week against North Carolina A&T. I'm not familiar with my FCS schools, so nobody kill me, please.
OddsShark has them... I feel like this isn't right because they have them listed as they have predicted score of 26.8 for Nebraska and 11.6 for Bethune-Cookman, but they also say Bethune-Cookman is 0-1. So I feel like this hasn't been updated.
If that is the final score,
people would be so upset.
People would be very upset. I would also be very upset. And I've as the week has gone on, ever since that Purdue loss that Ohio State suffered last week, I've started to feel a little bit more confident about Nebraska's chances going on the road to play Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
If they come out of a weekend against Bethune-Cookman with a 28-11 or 12, I don't know how you get 11 points.
The fact, though, that Bethune-Cookman's 4-4 and they're saying they're 0-1 tells me everything I need to know about trusting that at the moment.
Okay, so this is, we talked about this a little bit before we started podcasting. This is not going to be like a traditional game day, right?
No.
FCS opponent, obviously, middle of the season, it was supposed to be a bye week. I think there's going to be seats in the stands for if we want to go watch the game.
Oh, wow, I just found this one. Sorry, 46-point favorite for Nebraska is what's... I just found that one.
That feels better.
Instead of 41?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nebraska... wow.
Like I said, Nebraska should score 50 in this. They scored 50 against Minnesota. They should score 50 against this defense. And if they don't, I'm going to be a little nervous about going into Ohio State.
This one says, so for the record, if anyone's asking, like I'm looking at like Sportsbook Review, and they're probably the closest that you're going to get to like what would a traditional line look like, and it's up to 43. Let's see, I'm kind of looking at some of these things. So if you're like listening right now, I'm actually Googling because I find this really interesting, because you wouldn't have a traditional line. And I know some people like to use the line as an opportunity to kind of figure out like what the end score will be. So yeah, right now it seems like it's somewhere between 41 and 46 if there was a line. So, but you are right. If it ended up being what like I just saw on OddsShark where it was like 26 to 11, first and foremost, would that be a touchdown, a field goal, and a safety?
The 11 points or the 26?
11.
The 11 would be a touchdown,
2-point conversion,
2-point
safety?
conversion, and a field goal.
But that would be 9, and then you need 2 more points.
No. Touchdown.
Oh, because you get
6,
to 8. You're right.
2-point conversion.
Oh my gosh,
8.
My brain was still just going 7, and then an extra 2 on top of it. So you get to kick it and then also run for a 2-point conversion.
This is one of those situations where it's like when I was like, I don't remember how long quarters are in college football. Everyone's like, oh, look at this dummy. But like, damn it, Erin, you should know these things.
No, you can for sure kick the field goal and then also go for 2. It's a little unknown fact. Also, did you know some safeties are worth 1 point and some are worth 2?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That is not true.
No, it is.
There's no way that's true.
1-point safety versus 2-point.
Oh, that would be if you like, I don't know, like you blocked a field goal or like blocked an extra point and returned
safety. Have you ever seen a 1-point safety?
it. I've never seen a 1-point safety.
Okay. Touchdowns are 6 points, field goals are 3, conversions are 2, safeties are 2, point after attempts.
Breaking.
Point after attempts are 1 point, and then there is the 1-point safety. Let's see. So a 1-point safety is, just tell me what the meaning of it is.
That's what I'm saying.
A team making okay. This is from, if anyone is asking, this is from SB Nation. The 1-point safety has always been a possibility, albeit is nearly impossible. A team making an extra point attempt would have to botch the play so badly they would end up in their own end zone 98 yards away and then get tackled in that end zone. Because that play was on the extra point attempt or a 2-point conversion attempt, only 1 point would be awarded, thus the 1-point safety.
Why is that even a rule?
It's amazing. I've seen a 1-point safety once.
How have you seen that happen?
Because I was watching a football game, and it happened.
How does that happen?
I just explained it to you.
I'm aware that you explained how it literally happens, but how does that happen in an actual football game?
It's 1-point safety, Oregon versus Kansas State in 2013. That was probably the game I was watching. Let me pull this up. I mean, you could throw...
Has that been in 2013?
Yeah. Let me...
Oregon?
Ooh, it's a dog on this video.
Oh my god, we have to ask Scott Frost about this.
Let me see. Let's watch it. Okay, so Kansas State is... Oh, no, sorry. Oregon is about to kick the field goal. It's 31-10, Oregon over Kansas State. So Oregon is about to kick the field goal. Just wait.
Extra
he kicks
point.
it was blocked. The guy... Oh, see, that's how it happened. Okay. Yep. Oh, you dummy, Kansas State. Why did you do that? So they blocked the field goal. This is another way that can happen. They block the field goal. It drops out. It's now on the ground. Kansas State grabs it, but then drops it again. So another Kansas State player picks it up, but because he's already in the end zone, Oregon tackled the Kansas State player in his own end zone, and therefore it was a 1-point conversion. Da-da-da-da. Oregon's uniforms are not very impressive in this game.
You know, you could have a second career as a color commentator on sports broadcasts.
I know, right?
Yeah, be pretty effective.
You know what the best... Yeah.
Hold up. Oregon's uniforms were not good?
No, I didn't say they weren't good. They just weren't that flashy.
2013. Would that have been when they had the wings on the shoulder pads?
No, they were just very plain, and the helmet kind of didn't match the helmets kind of... Well, no, the pants were like a darker forest green, and the helmets were more of a Kelly green. And they had this like weird... it looks like a check pattern, but it is the wings. Okay, I'm going to send this to you.
I gotta look this up now.
Okay.
Is this the Fiesta Bowl?
That
would have been the only time they played them.
I remember the official had to explain it. See, I was watching this. I remember the official had to explain it because it was like, what is this? I told you, I watched...
Hold up. I'm looking at these uniforms right now.
These
are awesome.
That's fine. I didn't say they were bad.
No, yes, you did.
I said they weren't like anything.
No.
They were just not special.
Pick a stance. Hard line in the sand.
They're fine. They're not as cool as like some of their other ones.
Okay. I really just wanted to argue with you about Oregon uniforms, but since you don't want to do that, I suppose we should probably get back to Nebraska talk.
Now, actually, I'm just going to read to everyone the greatest trick plays in football history, which is another video on YouTube, and it's 14 minutes long.
This is what happens when you go on YouTube. You watch one video, and then it sends you down a rabbit hole where...
Well, what got me...
you'll go there for a music video for, like, Fall Out Boy, and you'll end up 3 hours later watching, like, I don't know, old WNBA highlights.
That's what happens to me on... Oh, the Oregon plays in this one, too. Okay. Or not... No, a different Oregon play. Oregon versus Michigan, it looks like. Anyway, did you ever see the one where Michigan lined up in just, like, a really dumb straight line? This one?
Yeah, the Harbaugh formation.
Yeah, that one's in here.
The I formation.
Gosh, I remember all. Like, oh, that was so fun.
My favorite was the South Carolina thing. Yes. That one was great.
That's a sight to be seen.
My favorite was the South Carolina one when, what's his face? The Florida, Steve Spurrier, was coaching there. And they would do, like, their center would be over the ball, and then they'd have the quarterback, and then they'd have, like, two linemen, like, way out on, like, the yard markers on the right side, and then two other linemen way out on the left side, and then they would have, like, receivers lined up behind them. That was my favorite formation that I've ever seen.
Really? Maybe they could get just super weird this weekend against Bethune-Cookman. Tied it back to the game.
Did, like, weird things with your hands.
I did.
I wish people could have seen that.
Yep, well, we don't film these, so...
I think they are going to do some weird stuff. You saw them last week do some weird stuff.
Mikhail Wilbon's going to make his debut.
No, Mikhail Wilbon is not alive anymore. We've talked about this.
I just saw him today.
We have talked about this.
I saw him. For anyone listening, I saw him on Thursday, October 25th.
I saw Jalen Bradley, too.
I did, too. He was walking with Maurice Washington, and they were yelling at another running back who said, it's hard to stop, and he was like, no, it's not, and he, like, ran forward and stopped his feet.
Okay, so that'll bring me to another point. Everybody felt like they were in good moods today.
They were in a good mood, yeah.
So what do you make of the mindset of this team? I know that there's a lot of people that have talked about, well, Nebraska's just overlooking Bethune-Cookman. Like, they got one win. They got a little cocky. They need to be prepared for this one. They obviously didn't practice on Monday. Try to take a little bit of advantage of their bye week. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the mindset of this team heading into the game?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest concern that people obviously have is they don't want Nebraska to overlook Bethune-Cookman, but at the same time, I think it's good that they're having fun. I mean, that was the best thing about the win over Minnesota, is it looked like for the first time they were having fun. They were enjoying themselves. So I'm glad that they're enjoying this week. They should be. Now, if they go into the game on Saturday and win 26-11 instead of hanging 40 to 50 points on BCU like we think that they can, then it becomes a question of, like, did you not take it seriously enough? But all of the coaches have said all week they've been putting the time in. They're happy with the work. Even Troy Walter says he feels like they're sound in their assignments. They're sound in what they should be doing. So he's not concerned that, like, they haven't been taking it seriously.
I also think we heard from Frost on Thursday that they had probably their best, or what was it, far and away their best Thursday practice of the season.
Far and away.
Talked about...
Which was a shout-out to the UCF in space uniforms.
Those are amazing. Mm-hmm. Should we just talk about uniforms instead?
No.
We could just spend the rest of this podcast talking about
uniforms. I guess we have. We've not talked about Oregon.
Like, most of the podcast so far has been spent talking about... But you
said far and away, which the moment he said it earlier today, when he said far and away, I was like, shout out to space.
That's actually part of their marketing plan. Like, they have other coaches outside of Central Florida, like, talking about, like, putting little subtle shots towards their...
Well, I told you that their UCF has been dropping elements of this uniform since last winter.
Right,
which is
that's what I'm talking about.
Genius.
Their marketing director is, like, light years ahead of everybody else.
They had the uniform design in their spring game posters.
It's amazing.
I hate them.
It's fantastic.
And respect them so much.
Respect the game.
Respect the game. But yeah, no, they were all in good moods, and he said it was far and away the best Thursday practice, which was good to hear. I mean, for anyone who's curious, like, they don't practice in pads on Thursdays.
No, Thursdays are walkthrough Thursdays or reggae Thursdays.
The only thing they didn't do today is they didn't play the win, 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 win song. So
Because they played reggae music.
They did. You're right. Well, they also were playing some AC/DC when I walked into the stadium today.
They were not playing reggae music when we got there, but if anybody wants to know what that reference is, read Hail Varsity and subscribe to the magazine, because you will know what that reference is if you subscribe to the magazine.
You can get to it at... you can go subscribe at store.hailvarsity.com.
Well, I could have just put the link in the description. Like, we don't need to tell them.
Well, you can, but also store.hailvarsity.com. It's not hard. Type it in your browser right now. Just don't close your phone. Go get a computer and type it into your browser.
Okay. The point that I was getting at, attention to detail, was something that Scott talked about this week, and that they were really, really good about that. Mm-hmm. He mentioned that earlier in the season they do run-throughs of the game plan, and they go through everything that they've scripted out for the week, and they try to simulate kind of the looks that they're going to get, or that they expect to get from the defense. And he was saying that earlier in the season they would not get through everything that they had in the game plan. They wouldn't get through the whole script in time, because they were having to do things over. They were having to go back and correct things. And he said today, Thursday, we're recording this on a Thursday, that they got through everything with time to spare. Mm-hmm. So that's encouraging. And that's probably, you can take more from that than just we had the best Thursday practice that we've had.
Well, in both Austin, so both Greg Austin and then Troy Walters, I believe, said this yesterday. Everything's kind of blurring together. But they do have officials at practices on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and the amount of flags that have been thrown in practice during those days where they have officials has decreased significantly ahead of Minnesota and then also this week. So if you go by the you are what you practice, you will do what you practice, then those things have gotten better. The fact that there have been less penalty flags thrown in practice, and then the fact that there have been more, they're getting through more in their walkthrough because they're not having to repeat things, those then hopefully showed us what we saw against Minnesota, and reason to believe that they will continue to get better on those things as well.
Sure. So Adrian Martinez Thursday morning was named the Manning Passer of the Week. He won the Manning Award Quarterback of the Week. That's presented by the All-State Sugar Bowl.
All-State Sugar Bowl.
That was... Oh, Mo Berry in the comments. First comment with the TO gif. That's my quarterback. Love it. Love it, Mo. Okay, anyway. Adrian had like 400 yards of offense last week for the third time in 4 games. Does the legend of Martinez grow again this week against an FCS defense, or does he come out by halftime?
I think he's not going to play this whole game. I mean, I think the legend sort of grows then if he's taken out at a certain point, because he would have gotten them into a position where they can remove him. I think you also show a lot of success if Martinez does not play this whole game. I believe that we will see not only Andrew Bunch, but I think we'll see Noah Vedral. I even jokingly said, why not throw Matt Masker in there for the last 2 minutes if you...
Because.
But why not?
Because.
You're not going to burn his red shirt anyway.
You'll see Vedral. You'll see Noah Vedral. Why do I keep saying things weird? You'll see Noah Vedral before you see Andrew Bunch, and you will not see Matt Masker.
That's fine. I'm just going to say it's going to be Matt Masker to Mikhail Wilbon for a touchdown. Just kidding.
Javon McQuitty emerges. And that's another storyline that we can talk about in this game, because, I mean, this game is a little bit weird, but I talked to Jovan DeWitt on Wednesday, Tuesday, what the plan was with Breon Dixon, because he hasn't played it all this season. He said, we've got 5 games left. The plan is to play him in 4. You would think that would start this weekend.
You'd think.
They've got a guy in Miles Jones that we heard like about all spring long, all summer long. He has not touched the field this season. Maybe he gets in. Maybe Vedral gets in.
They're going to play a lot of people this weekend.
Who's the one person that you're expecting to see the most of, or who's the one person that you want to see?
Noah Vedral.
Okay. Why?
I really sincerely believe I just think they'll be, I don't know. I mean, why not? That's my biggest thing, is why not? The reason I would like to see him in action is I think the only time Nebraska fans have gotten to see him really in action was the spring game, outside of his time at UCF, but at Nebraska the only time is the spring game. I'd be curious to see him leading the offense, especially because there's always a lot of people who are under the woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of thing with asking for his waiver sooner rather than later. It would just be interesting to see how he works with this offense. And honestly, if you have Martinez in like the first half and then they bring in Vedral as the game sort of gets put away and he steps in, it kind of could give you a preview of what we might be watching from the quarterbacks in the spring.
Yeah. I think you could get a situation where you get Martinez for the first 2 quarters, you get Vedral for the third, and then you get Bunch for the fourth.
And then you get Matt Masker for the last minute and a half.
When Masker comes into the game Saturday,
I'm just going to point at you.
You're going to like throw your hands in the air and be super excited in the press box.
I am.
And then you're going to get thrown out because no cheering in the press box.
Well, no, this is a weird week. They won't care. Nobody cares.
I want to see...
But this team cares. They are not overlooking Bethune-Cookman.
The team does care. I want to see Miles Jones.
Oh, okay.
I want to see what he can... What his skill set is, if he's going to play that kind of duck R spot, or if he's going to be running back, because Divine Ozigbo and Maurice Washington are pretty much your 2 guys at the running back spot right now. So if he can get on the field, it will be at the duck R spot. And Wyatt Mazur hasn't really been able to get on the field despite producing every time he gets on the field. So I want to look for Miles a little bit.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a legitimate reason to believe we're going to see a lot of new faces. Like, if you have, like, a Huskers bingo card, break it out. You'll probably be able to you'll probably be able to add some new faces. But, yeah, I mean, why not? There's a reason. This is the kind of game where you might as well try to utilize as many players as you possibly can, get them some experience. And it's honestly too bad in some ways that you can't get Cameron Jurgens into this game because of his injury, but this would have been a good game to get him into.
This would have been a perfect game for him at center.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. Get him some experience there, but oh well.
Oh well. Wow.
Such is life.
Let's look ahead. Not that Nebraska's looking ahead, but let's look ahead because
we can look ahead.
We have that luxury. Ohio State in Columbus a week from Saturday. Ohio State obviously has, you've already said it, they have a bye week this weekend.
Yes.
Last week they lost pretty handedly at Purdue. And Purdue, I mean, they controlled that game for most of it.
Yeah,
Ohio
Purdue
State
owned that game.
Hasn't been able to run effectively recently. They haven't really been good about defending the pass recently, I don't think. That's...
Adrian Martinez.
Maybe.
To J.D. Spielman and Stanley Morgan all day long.
I have also seen a ton of people on Twitter talking about how Ohio State plays its linebackers close to the line of scrimmage, or too close to the line of scrimmage. I think Jeff Brom said that in his post game, and they were able to take advantage of it in the passing game. All that stuff bodes well to Nebraska being able to move the ball, does it not?
No, it does.
Their defense is down to 49th in defensive S&P ranking. They're 5th offensively, 49th defensively. It's a pretty big jump. It's not great.
It's not great. Okay, let me be clear about something. Ohio State is still good. Urban Meyer has a good football team. This Ohio State team...
You just forgot how to play defense.
This Ohio State team is not the Ohio State team that we've seen in the last few years. This team is not as good as they have been. So there are opportunities for teams to beat them. They're still difficult. They're still a difficult team, and they're still good, but there's a reason Purdue was able to get the win. There's a reason Minnesota played them close.
Okay, so here's how you do it looking at their statistical profile.
Okay.
124th in the country defensively in explosiveness, 113th in marginal explosiveness. So on the ground, in terms of big plays on the ground, they are, 106 ranked. Through the air, they're 102. Big play rate, so percentage of plays that cover 20 yards, it's close to 10% for the defense. That's 111th in the country.
Okay.
You beat them by hitting them with big home runs. Purdue had home run hitters with Rondale Moore. Nebraska has home run hitters with J.D. Spielman and Stanley Morgan and Maurice Washington. And apparently Divine Ozigbo now.
Divine Ozigbo.
That makes me feel really good.
Yeah, there's reason to feel like Nebraska can come into this game and be competitive. Now, here's my big thing about that Ohio State matchup is that even if Nebraska doesn't win, but they come into Ohio Stadium, they give them a good game. They don't give up. I mean, I sat in Ohio Stadium 2 years ago, and that was the most uncomfortable game I've sat through. And I've sat through Michigan this year. Even Michigan didn't feel that bad. That was rough 2 years ago. So I think, most Nebraska fans just don't want to have, history repeat itself. So if you can go into Ohio Stadium, keep it competitive, put up a good fight, even if you don't win, there's no moral victory, but I think people walk away feeling okay about it.
Yeah, you don't give up 50, 60 points.
That whole thing was terrible.
You feel much better about it. Because I think most rational people are going to be like, they're not going to win this game, but they can be competitive, which they can. I think they got a chance to win the game. It's a better team than the season that started. I was also never on the camp that said Nebraska didn't have talent on its football team, so I'm not going to say that they're just going to go into a Buckeye Stadium and get obliterated, because I don't think that's going to happen. Also, I don't think Ohio State Jesus. I don't think Ohio State is interested right now. Maybe the Purdue loss and a bye week kind of shakes them out of that. Maybe it sets up at the absolute worst time for Nebraska to go play the Buckeyes.
Honestly, it would have been, it would have been helpful to be in the position that Purdue was in.
It would have been, yes.
But honestly, in my opinion, the biggest thing that helps Nebraska out is that Ohio State's coming off of a bye week, because I think if they had to face them this weekend, they would have been more angry. They have a little bit more time to let those feelings and that emotion sort of subside before Nebraska has to roll in there. Not saying that they're not going to still be mad. They're not going to still want to, punch somebody because of what happened with Purdue, but that raw emotion that you'd be feeling that initial week right after is going to have subsided just a teeny bit, because they will have gone through a whole bye week to get there. I
also think, though, that there's an advantage for Nebraska in playing an FCS opponent this week instead of having a bye week.
That's what I was saying earlier. There's an advantage to both sides. There's benefits and there's pluses and minuses to bye weeks and not having bye weeks versus having certain opponents before next opponents. There's a reason the SEC likes to schedule they like to do a lot of non-conference opponents later in the season before. There's a reason that they do that.
100%. They understand scheduling.
Yep, and like I said, if you can use the Bethune-Cookman to build a ton of confidence in your football team, and you can really if they drop 50 points on BCU, they're going to be feeling super amped going into that Ohio State game. Now, if Ohio State kind of comes in a little sleepy, they had the bye week, they're not quite as amped up anymore because the Purdue loss is now 2 weeks out versus just a week before. A lot of that can bode well for Nebraska. So, with that said, Ohio State could also have used that bye week to rest, get themselves fresh, get themselves into that game, whereas Nebraska had played a game. So there's always pluses and minuses to both sides, but I do think in this particular instance it does sit well for Nebraska.
And really it's about starts. Nebraska did not start. Like, you look at the Michigan game, Nebraska didn't start that well. They were down, 20-0 in the first quarter, or 20-3 or whatever in the first quarter, down 20-3 against Wisconsin. They started really, really well against Minnesota, 28-0. If you can get some offensive momentum, like you said, going in this game against Bethune-Cookman, let's say you score on 3 of 4, or 3 of 5 on your opening drives, and you take a big lead, and your defense continues to play the way that it played to begin the Minnesota game, and you turn that into a 50-point game, all you got to do is score on your first 2 touchdowns against Ohio State, and it's a game. It's game on. And that does so much for your confidence, so much for a team that will already have a ton of confidence. Because I remember talking to Deontay Williams, and I keep going back to this quote. It was after Michigan, or it was after Purdue, where he talked about, we're treating every game like a Super Bowl. We just got to win one. We just want to win one because we know that we're a good football team. We just need the confidence that we can close games and the confidence that we can win games. And they got one. Let's say they get 2, and they do it handedly. Back-to-back 50-point games.
Yeah.
That is a lot of confidence flowing for a team heading into Ohio State. We're talking ourselves into a major, major college football upset.
It would be a major upset because I think people have sort of absolved themselves that Nebraska is not good this season, and I think a lot of us sort of. Now, here's the thing: if they beat Minnesota, Bethune-Cookman, and then go into Ohio State and somehow manage to beat the Buckeyes, you are suddenly looking at the very real possibility of suddenly becoming bowl eligible. And I'm not trying to sit here and blow smoke up people's butts because I understand that's really frustrating when you don't want to feel like it's we don't want to be like overly positive. And
we
like,
are just chugging Kool-Aid right now.
We're just chugging so much Kool-Aid. But I'm just saying, in the hypothetical world where everything goes right and they go to Ohio Stadium and they get a win over the Buckeyes, that changes a lot of this season's conversation. And it also does would really give a lot of merit to what they were saying about how when the dam opens, the water just, pours through. So I don't know. I don't want to get people super I don't want them to think that we're being like homers about this and Nebraska's for sure going to win. That is a very, very tough game no matter what. A lot of things are going to have to go right for Nebraska to win, but I believe that they can be competitive in that game. I do not feel like I'm going to have an Ohio Stadium 2016 experience all over again.
I would put it at like a 25% chance. Yeah?
That seems fair.
Which is like 24% higher than it would have been like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I would agree. It's significantly higher now for me than it was recently.
Okay, so let's go the other way then to, I guess, kind of walk back our homerism. Nebraska still has not played a complete game defensively. They gave up 22 unanswered to Minnesota. What has to happen, or what would you like to see corrected in this game? Because there are still issues that this football team has. Obviously, they're a 1-6 football team. What would you like to see corrected, or what would you like to see look better this weekend against Bethune-Cookman that hasn't looked good still through 7 games?
Well, I think everything Shenander said the other day, and I'm actually pulling up our everything we talked about, because you wrote about how Shenander said that I think what they've been doing, and Walters brought this up on the offensive side as well, they've been very assignment sound. Like they've been good there. But let me see, kind of what did he say? It's just...
They need a pass rush. I'll go first.
Pass rush is huge. And I think we saw that a little bit with them putting JoJo Doman at outside linebacker, even though he said he's still kind of playing the same spot that he was already kind of. It didn't really make a huge adjustment for him.
It's like he's playing down in their nickel or Sambacker when they go into sub packages. It's not like he's going to start over Tyron Ferguson when they play base defense to begin the game. Right,
but that's obviously a decision they made because of the pass rush whole situation. But yeah, I think that when I'm looking at your story from the other day, if anyone wants to check it out, it's at hillvarsity.com. But when Eric Shenander was talking about it, there was 2 plays that really stood out to him, which was that the pass that was back out of the Wildcat in a 69-yard. So he said a first half pass back out of the Wildcat, and then that 69-yard tunnel screen. One was in the first half, one was in the second half. They were very correctable, but players just put themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time and didn't do. That's another thing, is they're still kind of learning not to put themselves in a bad spot. They still kind of are they might be assignment sound, but they're still not perfect.
It's like 2 games ago where you see 2 pass rushers run into each other.
Yeah, which is really good. But yeah, you put pass rush in here.
So they had 7 sacks in the first game against Colorado, and they've kind of
tapered off.
They've kind of pared down that aggressiveness since, partially because the offense hasn't been moving the ball, so they haven't been able to just blitz guns blazing. But I would like to see Ben Stilley have a coming out party.
That'd be great. I mean, he started to have that against Minnesota. He had that 1 sack. And he turned his black shirt down this week, which was definitely the big talking point. But he is a black shirt whether he's wearing one or not. And I think for him, he's just waiting for that big game, and there's a good chance that could come this weekend.
Yeah, and I think when you get offered a black shirt and you're like, nope, haven't earned it yet, that sets up nicely for you to then
just go
the immediately ensuing week to just go balls to the wall.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Chenander's favorite phrase, and go earn it.
Go earn it.
So maybe he has a big game. Maybe they have 7 sacks. Maybe they have 8.
Your sack tracker is going to be out of control.
Do you want to do prop bets for this game?
No.
No?
But maybe what? I'm not very good at bets. I'm going to just tell you honestly, I'm really terrible at bets.
We also didn't plan any of this, so it'd be kind of interesting to come up with off the top of my head. Okay, so here's one. What's more likely of happening? Miles Jones gets 20 yards rushing, or Breon Dixon gets 3 tackles.
What are the odds?
Which has a better chance of happening?
Okay, say it again.
Miles Jones gets 20 yards rushing.
Okay.
Or Breon Dixon gets 3 tackles.
Ooh, I feel like I'm going to go with Miles Jones. What about you?
I'm going to go with Breon.
Woo! I like that we're opposite.
Okay. Noah Vedral has more passing touchdowns than Adrian Martinez does.
No. Martinez will. I think he'll... Well... Ooh, I don't know. I'm going to still take Adrian. Don't screw this up for me, Adrian, if you're listening.
We know he's listening. Okay.
Adrian, big fan of podcasts.
Okay, yes, big fan of podcasts. He's a podcast guy. Anything football related, he consumes it. Big football guy.
Football guy.
Loves football. Masker has more passing touchdowns than Bunch.
I'm going to still say Bunch would have more, but I still think that Masker gets in for the last minute and a half.
Implying that either of them has a passing touchdown.
I mean, why not?
Which is not a safe assumption.
Give a passing touchdown to all of them.
Nebraska's actually going to score 80 points in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be like 105. Now that's drinking the Kool-Aid. I'll put the Kool-Aid down now.
As she opens her drink. Okay, we've been talking for 41 minutes about nonsense, so let's do score predictions and then we'll wrap it up.
Excuse me, this has been 41 minutes of absolute podcasting gold. If you are listening to this still, tweet at Derek at Dr. PDHV and tell him so.
I wanted to continue talking about Oregon's football uniforms, and you shot that down, so we have turned...
No, you want to just talk about uniforms in general.
Which is not a bad thing. Erin, what's your score prediction for this game?
A lot to a little.
No.
Let's maybe say like... I feel like I'm kind of in the like 55 to 10, 55, 7, 62, 10, 62, 7. Like, I'm in that range. I haven't settled on something yet.
62 to 7.
If
they win 62 to 7.
That seems so high to me.
I will go on every TV station and radio station in this state and say that Nebraska will beat Ohio State.
But see, I think if Nebraska gets to 62 points, I think that Bethune-Cookman has more than that. So I feel like if that's the case, it's like 62-14 or 62-13 or 62-17. Like, that's kind of where I would get with like Bethune-Cookman on the other end. So that's why I was kind of more around like the 55 to 10. So I'll go with 55-10. I'll settle there.
Well, that's like right what mine was.
Was it?
So, yeah,
see, you listened to the process of me talking through how I come up with score predictions, which is like going, well, if it's going to be 62 points for Nebraska, it's going to have to be higher points for Bethune-Cookman, and because I'm not comfortable giving Bethune-Cookman that many more points, I'm going to go with 55-10.
Oh, see, I wasn't cheating. I had 54-10 all along.
That's fine. You can have that.
We just have brand synergy, and you just were aware.
Synergy.
What's coming up on HailVarsity.com?
Let's see. You have a great story on how Oregon, some of the staff's time at Oregon influenced them at Nebraska. And in fact, I find that super interesting because Chip Kelly had a way bigger influence on Scott Frost than I think sometimes people want to realize. So if you want to check that out, it's on HailVarsity.com right now. It was in the last issue of the magazine. So if you're a fan of that, you should for sure subscribe to the magazine. Let's see. We have...
No Huddle's posted. Listen to
No Huddle, which
Watch
is
No Huddle.
pretty good. As always, it's pretty neat.
Shout out Mark Cranack.
Let's
Craniac.
see. Did you just say Craniac?
I did say Craniac.
It's Cranac.
I'm aware.
Okay.
That's a nickname.
Sure. Just making sure.
Like Bunchy.
Just making
or Space
sure.
Cowboy.
Ziggy Stardust.
Ziggy Stardust. Jaime.
Oh my God. Yeah, Jaime. I'm pretty sure he meant to say Hymus and said Jaime.
No, I think that's the nickname.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
You're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say he definitely knows how to say his players' last names. It's Jaime.
Is Zigboo?
Zigboo.
Let's see. But we'll have a ton of really good stuff. We're even talking through this weekend just some of the cool things that we'll be able to provide for you on HailVarsity.com, just from the game coverage and then heading into next week. So you'll for sure want to bookmark HailVarsity.com. Follow us on Twitter at HailVarsity. Follow us on Instagram at HailVarsity. Mm-hmm. Like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/HailVarsity. Should I keep going?
Also,
we've got all the social channels.
Also, there's basketball stuff. Husker
There's
Hoops
basketball.
preview for men Wednesday night. Women had their preview Tuesday night. We've got soccer stuff loaded on site. Nebraska closed out its season with a 2-0 win over Michigan State. They earned the 6th seed in the Big Ten tournament, which begins Sunday. I don't think that game's on BTN. It might be streaming on BTN to go. But they play Ohio State at 1 p.m. Central Time on Sunday. We'll have... Does volleyball play this weekend? I know they won. They finally won a game again. Remembered how to win, so John Cook is off the hot seat now.
What is their schedule?
They might play this weekend. If they do, we'll have coverage on HailVarsity.com. Well, I'm just trying to keep it going.
Yeah, they play on Saturday night. I was going to say Saturday night. So they play they have Illinois at home Saturday night.
Okay. So we'll have volleyball. We'll also have soccer. We've had basketball. We'll have a little bit of football.
The sports equinox.
I'm still upset that they're actually playing a game this weekend. That really ruins plans.
That really ruins my plans.
We will be back next week with another podcast. We will talk to an Ohio State person for that podcast. Probably won't have Erin on again because we rambled a lot this one.
How dare you?
Okay. I was expecting a little bit better reaction, but okay.
No, that's all you get. How dare you?
Okay. Erin, thanks for joining.
Thanks. I will be back next week.
We will be back next week. Talk to you guys then. Thanks, guys.